Okay, there are values that the sooner you kind of realize that women have their brain. I mean, when I say girls are different, and when people say they're different, they're not just a different gender. You got to realize, like in research, they don't want to admit to most of this. Like their brain is completely different. How they process information is completely different. How they see the world is completely different. It's interesting because of like, and we know, because I work with a lot of women in training, in exercise, the way they perceive exertion is different than men. With men, when you exert yourself and really push, there's a feedback loop, and it's pretty severe. And from research, women's is not as um, severe. The more effort she puts out, she doesn't get a greater boost in endorphins. It's very much a blunted response, and most of that's due to estrogen. Testosterone tends to cause an increased response. Kind of like when you work out, you're like high as a kite for the rest of the day. There is some of that for women, but because of a different chemical makeup and the way they're designed, again, lower muscle mass, more body fat, their response to exercise isn't as psychologically and physically satisfying. I mean, because guys get that feedback loop, and it kind of explains a lot of times like why girls will struggle to stay on track because they don't have that physical satisfaction that comes for most guys. Like, God, I feel so much better. Girls have other things going on in their head quite often that over or supersede how much better they feel during exercise. And when they do exercise, they don't have they do, like, you can get a runner's high, but it's not as pronounced with women because of a different muscle mass, different hormone. Estrogen doesn't carry that type of, like, you get, really high, I guess you'd say high emotions or positive emotions. It's more blunted, but you do feel better, and there's all kinds of benefits. But again, everything with a girl's brain, and girls don't understand what honesty is. These are man traits like honor, bravery, values, valor. It's not good or bad. They just have other strengths. Like, they are better able to read like a face or an infant's face and tell you what the child wants. Not even their own child. They can watch other children and they can tell you what that child wants. Whereas guys, we're like, I mean, some guys have more of it than others, but again, in general, men cannot look at children who are nonverbal and discern what that child wants or needs to make it happy. But women do have this ability to connect with these children. But on the other hand, values like honor, valor, bravery, they don't really exist. There's more of a what would you say, self possession or self wanting to make sure that again, remember, sperm is cheap, eggs are expensive. Women have to look out for themselves, whereas men are kind of designed to look out for themselves and for others. You can be honest with girls, but you'll be able to hear their pussy snap shut. So the whole thing with this is women they say they want complete honesty, but when you do convey complete honesty, they're going to shut down. So you have to think of diplomacy. And that's why a lot of these like engineers are and I hate to use the word autistic because it's such an overused and abused word, but guys that are like, can't read the room. They don't care to read the room. They just want to tell you what is on their mind. It shuts a lot of women down. Then the guy's like, a chronic masturbator because he can't keep a girl around. You can be honest with women, but it's best if you couch criticisms or problems or bad news, if you wrap like you give a pill to a dog, you wrap it in bologna. You have to be a diplomatic about conveying bad news or making changes, or guys will show up and they got 3 kids and they're all like in elementary school, and he's just took a job across the country and he just drops it on her, and she lives next door to her parents. And it happens. I mean, even me telling you a scenario like that, you're like, that's insane. And it happens all the time, especially with guys that don't realize that women process things differently. But again, there are certain traits like honor, bravery, valor, values that women, they don't have a word for it. They hear us say it, but they can't really imagine it. It's just not within them. Again, because they have a hard wiring to procreate, self-preservation. That's the phrase I was looking for earlier. Men don't have as much self-preservation, and still where women do have 90%, it's like self-preservation, 10%. Again, they're taking care of kids, and they can have more kids. But you can be honest with girls, but you will be able to hear their pussy snap shut. So always when you have to convey bad information, or you're dealing with like honor, bravery, valor, that's really, you're going to have to couch it in terms that they understand. Otherwise, they'll be like blank.